Now it's time for tip-episodes with quick tips you should know. Techniques you can implement into your workflow right here on A Tale, oh yeah, A Tale of Two Hygienists.
Listeners, welcome into this tip episode. We're talking about portability. If you looked at the title of the episode, it's kind of like, I don't know, tongue-in-cheek a little bit, like we don't need portability. It's a lie. We actually do need portability. And so I was just trying to use that to like lure y'all in here so I could trap you into this conversation. But I'm joined today by Annie. Annie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Andrew. Happy to be here.
Okay, so I wanted to share this news with you. At the same time, I want to again, fight this whole compact bullcrap thing that's happening. And you know what? I don't want to this is my bully pulpit, but I feel like hygienists need to understand this, especially those that are on social media need to understand this. But I think also for those hygienists that are maybe they're tuned off to all the social media politics bullcrap, they still need to understand this information too, because I think it's going to get down. But basically what has happened, there was a press release that went out on the 22nd of July, and it came from Credits and CERTA, so the Central Regional Dental Testing Service, and the State Resources for Testing and Assessments, which was formerly called, I think, the Southern Regional Testing Agency or something like that. They are now merging. They are now coming together. Did you hear about that press release?
I did not hear about that press release. But okay. I'm also not like you had mentioned, the hygienists that are not super involved with social media. That's me.
Yeah, well, that's fine. So, I don't think that's really out there because this merge is pending. This isn't okay. It hasn't been finalized yet. Okay. There's still I know that there was a vote that was done by kind of the governing bodies of each of them that said we want to move forward with this discussion. We're going to get lawyers involved. We're going to do all these different things. But I won't bore everyone with the details of it. But there has to be ratification still later this month in August at the annual meetings of both parties. So it's not a done deal, but it's very likely to happen based on kind of conversations that have happened by both of the governing bodies. So what this means, and this is why we'll get back to the portability, and we'll get back to the compacting in just a minute. But to recap for everybody, if you graduated probably more than even 5 years ago, you're used to a scenario where there was regional dental testing boards. So REB was a thing, Western Regional, Credit Central Regional, CERTA South or East, NERB was Northeast Regional, and then there's CETA, and there's there's ADAX is an exam that's not really it's a thing, and so we have all of these choices. And the problem what happened with there is if I took the REB, but then which is Western, and then I moved to the East Coast, those states are like, oh, that's yours, our West Coast exam. We want you guys to take our East Coast, our Northeast regional board, or Southern regional board. And so there was kind of this turf war, this territorial crap. So back then, even 10 years ago, we were having these conversations, American Association of Dental Boards, AADB meetings, we're talking about these compacts, right? So the compact was saying, we're going to make a way for us to kind of grease the wheels so that your license over here, is portable, is carried over to this other thing. And that would have been great, right? But because it was definitely needed. Well, a few years ago, the CDCA, CETA, and now REB, within these last few years, have all kind of come together. So, and then there was still CERTA, and then there was Credit. So all of these different regional boards went down to 3 regional board exams. And now with this combination, there's basically going to be 2 regional board exams. And if you look at the portability map, right? So you look at the CDCA website that says, okay, dentist, here's here's all the states that are accepted by our that accept our exam. And you look at the Credits website, same thing. It's most of the U.S. So we're getting to this point, and this is where I'm getting kind of frustrated. We're getting to this point where there's basically, the 2 last, and you can't even call them regional boards really at this point. They're basically national board exam agencies, and they fulfill the need of all the states. So now we're going to look at capitalism. We're going to look at these people who are looking to make a buck, right? And look, I love capitalism. I love people trying to make some money. The problem that I have with this is who's going to be paying for the ability to get licensed in another state? It's going to be the hygienist, right? Or the dentist or the dental professional. So in comes these agencies that, hey, we have this really great idea. We're gonna, make it so you can get, this portability. But is it even necessary anymore? I guess that's kind of my bigger question. Like, where's the necessity if basically every state is accepting both of these regional testing bodies? I don't understand it anymore.
Yeah, oh man. I mean, as a hygienist, I'm licensed in 3 different states, and when you bring up like the cost part of it, and I'm like, why do I have to pay all this money? But kind of just going back to what you were saying, yeah, we're talking about license portability, but then at the same time, the regional testing agencies, it pretty much covers you across the board. So it's like,
yeah,
like, where's this coming from? And it can be so challenging for hygienists to navigate that. And I don't know.
Exactly. Well, and I guess my thing is like, okay, we can, like, what's easier? Let's create multiple different compacts to try and figure out this portability, make hygienists and dentists pay extra money on top of the fees that would take, like, you and I, since if we went to another state, which would be both of our, I think, 4th state, right, for license or whatever.
Yeah.
If we go there, we would apply for licensure. It'd probably be, be through credentialing for both of us.
Yes.
And we would say, okay, we've taken the test. You would submit to the board. We pay the fees, whatever.
Exactly.
Okay, that's normal. Now, on top of all of this other stuff, we have to pay extra fees. So when we get our renewal, our license renewal things, we have to pay for the compact fee on top of that, and then whatever state fee on top of that for processing fee or whatever.
Right.
There's gonna be all these extra fees that are added. I don't understand, why are we creating all this whole entire mechanism as opposed to saying, look, these 5 states, I actually don't know the number for CDCA, but these 5 states will say don't accept the 8X exam that's administered by the CDCA Reb CETA. Well, why don't we just go to those states and be like, hey, there's only 2 of these things left. Just accept it. Just accept these last 2 exam agencies as credible and call it good. And here's the other thing too. Back before COVID, there was so much variability in the exam process, right? So what they were doing in the Northeast and what they were doing on the West Coast was very, very different. Now, everyone's using mannequins. There's a standardization.
Yeah.
There's not really a whole heck of a lot of difference between the 2 exams at this point. There are definitely some like grading differences and things like that. But as far as, measuring for minimal competency, I don't think that there is an outrageous difference between either one. Now, I'm sure both agencies are going to be like, ours is the best. But if I'm a state and I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, here's your grading criteria, and it's, mostly all the same, what are we even talking about here? Why aren't we just accepting both and calling it a day?
Yeah,
we don't have to
100%.
accept 5. We don't have to write 5 into our legislation now. We don't have to do 7 or 8 of them, but we're just doing 2 at this point.
Right. And we're talking so much about portability and keeping things like consistent and calibrated. And so it's like, why not just accept those 2? And like, just across the board, like dental hygiene as a profession, like it's just, there's all these little complex things. Like, why don't we just keep it consistent across the board? Like, we should all be practicing in the same way. We're all should be educated in the same way. Like, yes, like we definitely need to have the board exams and the clinical exams and the national board exam. Totally need that for sure, that standardization. But why can't it just be standard across the U.S.? Like,
yeah, this isn't hard, folks. It's
really not hard at all.
And so I guess my plea, and I know this is like a tip, so I'm supposed to give you a tip, and like that's, I guess my tip would be, hey, we don't need to wait for the ADHA. We don't need to wait for all these other people. You guys need to go talk to your legislators at your state level and say, look, we just want to make this as easy as possible. If we all if every state is accepting the exact same thing, we have our portability, you guys. Like, we have that without having to pay any extra fee that we're not already paying to get into another state.
Exactly.
So let's all save ourselves some money and just have these last few states accept both exams.
Yes. Yeah.
Not that hard.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not that hard. I mean, I've had students reach out to me that are going to different states and they're like, how do I navigate this? And it's like, come on, it shouldn't be this difficult. Like, it really shouldn't.
Yeah.
So advocacy.
Yeah, thanks for letting me get on my soapbox. Everyone, if you all have questions about this, like obviously this is something I'm really passionate about. I do want portability for hygienists. It's been a passion of mine for a very, very, very long time, for a super long time. I want this for us all. I really do. However, the way that it's been going about, people are making it an overly complicated system, and it doesn't have to be. And it doesn't have to cost us money. We shouldn't be paying for these systems that we don't necessarily want, that aren't going to be better than what we could already have. So that's all I got. If you have any questions or comments, Andrew at A Tale of Two Hygienists. Thanks, and enjoy your weekend.
A Tale of Two Hygienists.